Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's the boy 10. And you know how we do it. I'm watching, I'm 28. Here's how to get ahead of most 28 years old. I'm also in my 20s, so let's see if this can teach me anything particularly. Video by Dan Cole. Yeah, Dan Cole. All right, Dan, blow me away.
This video is going to piss some people off because it's for a very specific type of person, and I'm going to sound extremely inconsiderate to most people, but that's the only way that I can get the severity of this situation across. So with that said, consider the nuance of my normal videos turned off as of right now. The people who get angry with the brutal honesty that's about to come are often those who have pretty terrible lives. They haven't grown past the age of 20 to 25. They are the people who have not yet realized that the best way to make the most of your 20s is to make them your worst. Because you really only have two options. The first is to use your 20s to become the person that you were meant to be, and the second is to repeat the same 6 months for the rest of your life. If you don't nearly max out your potential in your 20s, you can simply observe society and see where your life will probably end up. In essence, you get stuck in this loop of anxiety and overwhelm, and you just attempt to live your past peak experiences. You go to the same bars and the same raves and you play the same video games. When you turn 20, you start having the best peak experiences of your life because you're old enough to try new things now, but you haven't yet realized that those should be and are the lowest peaks of your entire life. And so what happens is people register those as, oh, these are the good days. This is the peak experience. This is where I feel amazing. And they try to repeat that over and over again. And when they're not doing that, they crave the peak experience. They want the euphoria that they associate with happiness when happiness is not euphoria. So the result of this is that you just fill your entire life and it becomes your routine to engage in these extremely shallow activities that aren't leading to a good life. And eventually it becomes your identity. It just becomes second nature. You shut your mind off and you're just automatically doing these things, and it's very hard to get out of. Most people plateau around the age of 23, and then when you start to ask them, like, what are you doing with your life? In a genuine way, you're asking like, hey, like, what are you doing? Are you improving your career? What you're just talking with them. What are you doing with your life? They confidently say that I'm just living life. Like they label what they're doing as living life. And these people, they haven't come around to the ramifications of staying the same because they don't realize that there's no such thing as staying the same. There's only you get better or you think you're staying the same, but you're actually just getting worse. And that worse doesn't show up until years later. So, as you can tell in society, most people turn 30 to 40 years old with the emotional maturity of a 15-year-old. The world rapidly pushes forward and it's continuing to push forward even faster while your mind, body, spirit, finances stay in the same place when in fact you're just digging them all deeper into this hole. And the deeper you get into this hole, the light at the top is more difficult to see. And if you're stuck in this 30-foot deep hole, how are you going to dig yourself out of that? So the purpose of this video is to show you that your 20s are the tutorial phase. They're not the main game. They're the preparation, not the main event. So I just want to give you 3 traps to avoid and 3 things to do because I
agree with you, Dan. I agree with you so far, man. Like, honestly, people think the 20s are supposed to be the time to go to all the best parties, best life. But what we're actually doing by doing that is sacrificing our most productive years. Because by 30, nobody wants to hear you're still trying to figure out life. Nobody really, you should be trying to settle down and have kids and try to raise them of your own. Because what happens is you're now lagging behind. If by 30, that's when you want to actually start grinding, by 30, most of your mates are settled. By 30, most of everybody has more or less chosen their path in life. Some of the girls that you went to school with have children. You know, nobody wants to hear, oh, I'm still trying to figure it out. Because when are you going to figure it out and be done with it? When are you going to have kids? You know, now now it's like a carryover for those of you who understand. I'm Nigerian, but in school it's like you're being held back. Now you're 10 years behind. 20s is when you're allowed your freedom, but 20s is really the point to grind, man, especially for men, bro. With women, I'm not trying to sound sexist, but with women, they kind of have it a bit easier because they're women, bruh. A man is gonna see them and take care of them. That's the truth. Of course, modern day, your woman has to be doing something. Like she can't just be lying around and looking pretty. She has to have a career and a thriving business and just basically good. But for the most part, a woman can rely on a man. You know, a man doesn't have anybody to rely on. You can't go relying on your woman. You lose respect. So it's very integral for us as men to be able to say, look, right now everybody's going to the parties. Right now everybody is basically enjoying their life. Right now your mates are getting all the women. It seems like you're the only one kind of left out. But bruh, the age where you get to enjoy all of that, it's still coming, bruh. What do you think you're going to be doing in your 30s? When you're lit, when you have the bag, what do you think you're going to be doing? You're going to be looking for a partner to settle down, and because you are stable financially, because you've done all this growing internally from all the times you stuck to yourself and did the work, emotionally, psychologically, in everything, you just made sure you did the work. What do you think is what you're going to be the most attractive partner ever? Forget looks. Like a woman sees you and she sees you have money, she sees you're stable, she sees you're emotionally intelligent, you have your shit together, you're not depending on anybody. Bro, women will be throwing themselves at you left, right, and center. You know? You know what I'm saying? But they're not gonna do that now. But if you run and chase after them now, by 30 you're broke, you don't have anything to your name, you spent your entire 20s partying and basically wasting your life. By 30 you're a bum, bruh. By 30 everybody's looking at you like, man, you're a failure. And that's not to say anything about if you haven't figured it out by 30, but it's a different ball game. In your 20s someone says, oh, you're broke. Okay, you're in your 20s. By 30s, by your mid 30s, you're 35, 36, you still don't kind of have something going on for you. Yeah, you're going to start to feel the pressure from people. They're going to start looking at you some sort of way. But yeah.
Been in this position, right? I'm talking shit about these people who get stuck and stay the same for 6 months at a time when I was that person. And I can confidently say that my life has gotten substantially better since I made the decision to stop doing that. So I want to help shine a light of awareness in a way that can shift the beliefs in your mind that allow you to notice new opportunities and change certain aspects of your life so you can continue to get better, not in a self-improvement dopamine junkie kind of way, but in a way that makes sense. If you can set yourself up in your 20s, your quality of life will only continue to increase. And that's even when your youth is no longer on your side. So the first trap is don't listen to anyone who doesn't have the life you want, because the people who have the life you want are extremely rare. They're less than 1% of the population. And the other 99% of people are those who just blabber about how you should live your life when they wasted their own. And if you listen to them, then you're probably going to waste your life as well. These are the people where they are adamant on convincing you that you should do something in order to live a great life because that's what they did and they don't know what a good life could have been for them. They're adamant on convincing you that the greatest things to do are the greatest things that they did, and those things aren't that great at all. If you bring them your goals that sound close to impossible, they'll tell you to be more realistic. They'll tell you to create a budget. They'll tell you to invest your measly savings. They'll tell you to go out and have fun and make the most of your 20s when they have no idea what making the most of your 20s means. And then they will tell you that during that time to set yourself up in this boring mechanical life through a thing called a job, doing work you hate until you turn 50, as if that's some like twisted rite of passage. right? That's all they're focused on because they have this industrial mindset. It's like, okay, you need to go to school, get a job because that's what your grandpa and great grandpa and great.
It's so sad, man. It's so sad that we see this even in our parents. It's not their fault, but they've been brainwashed, basically. That's what it is. It's conditioning for you to believe that this is the path in life for you and your children and their children and your generations to come. They are all just gonna be born, finish school, work for us, who are the elites in the society, and then maybe we'll think about how much to give them when they're old, and then they die, and then the cycle repeats itself again. So, for those of you who are so scared of failure, are you more scared of failure than you are working a job you don't want for the rest of your life? For those of you who say the grind is too long, aren't you better off grinding at something you genuinely enjoy than working a job that you despise with a boss that you dislike, getting pay that is barely enough to take care of your bills? Is that what you want for yourself? I don't think so.
Great great grandpa did, and they don't understand how technology is changing career paths and that you can actually do something different. So when you go and you take that to them, it doesn't even register in their brain. It puts them into survival mode because they're afraid that you aren't going to survive. Many people say they want the best for you, but in reality they just don't want to feel inferior to you. So you have my permission, and you should give yourself permission to ignore most of what these people say. Just practice deliberate ignorance. You can entertain the thought, but don't let it into your mind. You need to do your own independent research, and you need to actively search for the less than 1% of the population that have the life you want, and you need to listen to their advice. Take it, experiment with it, still don't take it as law, but you eventually need to take the best parts of the people who have the life you want, and you need to turn it into your own through trial and error. Now, the second trap is to get your taste of distractions fast, because most people treat their youth as a currency instead of investment capital. They party and they smoke and they watch Netflix at night and they just lounge around all day. And those things aren't necessarily bad, and they aren't the end of the world in and of themselves, but they destroy the benefits of being young, where you have time, you have energy, and you have focus. Now, I was a dumb college kid too, but the distinction there is that I was always working on something that would somehow buy my freedom. I didn't know what that was. I was just working on various opportunities that I was researching and coming across in terms of starting a business or getting healthy or learning how to master my mind. I was always into self-improvement, not what self-improvement has become, but in bettering myself.
This guy just spoke my mind, man, and now I feel even more connected to him. Bruh, I'm giving you a subscribe. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I realized I wasn't the type of kid to be really interested in anything beyond myself. I know that sounds selfish, and honestly, it probably is. But for you to attain the level of success and the life that you want, you genuinely have to be selfish. That's honestly the only way to get there. You know, not in a bad way, but selfish in a prioritizing yourself way, you know, knowing what you want and going for it unapologetically. You know, I didn't care about the beefs, I still don't. I don't care about, you know, what's going on. Maybe it piques my interest a little bit, but beyond just the dopamine of, oh, what's this really new hot trending thing that's going on? It dies pretty fast for me. You can't catch me weeks after that talking about I'm done. Like I move on very quickly. I'm only interested in what's going on in here, and what my life should look like, what I want my life to look like. I'm chasing after opportunities. Every single thing I want, I'm going after it. Yeah. I'm not interested in the gossip, who did this, who said this, who did what. I'm not really a club person. I don't be at the clubs. I have been to clubs, you know, but it's very rare, few and far between. That's not to say I'm better than the people that go to clubs. I'm just trying to explain to you the extent to which I am literally about myself, you know. And that's not to say I don't get to have fun. I don't hang out with the girls and all that, but Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Like, I am priority. I do what's best for me, regardless. And I'm just very invested in being a better person as a human being, knowing my flaws, refining, making sure I deal with them so I have more strengths than weaknesses, knowing my weaknesses so I work on them, picking up hobbies, just improving my quality of life, and less so about chasing validation, chasing women. The only thing I can say I'm remotely chasing is money, is the bag, but everything else is kind of like, okay, secondary to me. So it's just God, me, and what I want to achieve in life.
Because I knew at such a young age that I didn't want to end up overweight, obese, low energy, financially unstable. I wanted to take control of those things fast. And I can tell you, just by like trying, just an hour a day, even when I was in college and I was partying and I was doing all of these things, I still felt the desire to set aside time to research and try things and build things. And even though most of them failed, when you actually try something, when you do something in reality, that's when you learn. So if you continue to do it over time, try and fail. It doesn't matter if the business doesn't take off, because you stack all of these skills that lead into something working in the future when all of the right pieces come together. So I'm not telling you to.
Another thing just hit me. Success is the right number of failures accumulated. Think about it. When you fail enough times, they say you either win or you learn. So if you take failures as lessons, right? You take failures as lessons and you take the lesson from every failure. All that's doing is making you prime candidate for the next successful individual. Because if it takes 99 failures, 99 classes for you to graduate, and you learn and take each and every single one of those classes, nothing can stop you from graduating. Some people just don't like failure, but failure is the teacher. Failure is the redirection. It's telling you, okay, not this, try something else. Not this, try something else. And eventually, everything narrows down because you've been trying everything, and everything is slowly narrowing your focus. And it's telling you, okay, not yet, not yet. It's like hot, cold, warm, 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 hot, cold, hot, warm, 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 warm. Bing, bingo, boom, bam. You're successful. But you don't know what the universe, what God wants from you yet. You don't know what God wants you to be yet. And He's trying to redirect you through closing doors. He's trying to, okay, not this one, not this one, not this one, not this one, not this one. And He's like, yes, finally you get it. It's this one. And He confirms it for you, because once you hit that door and you've become the person you're supposed to be through all the failures, who's going to stop the door from opening for you? It's yours.
To get rid of these distractions altogether. I'm not telling you to stop partying. I'm not telling you to stop smoking weed or doing whatever it is that you do that is draining your time, energy, attention, focus. But it would be wise to get your taste of them quickly. That way you can recognize them as mistakes, but you won't recognize them as mistakes unless you have a goal that you are actively working toward. Because in order for a goal to have gravity, for you to be disciplined or motivated to achieve that goal, you have to have some form of energy invested into it. You need to spend a month working toward a goal so that you actually feel the pain of no longer working toward it, or you can register the smoking weed or being lazy or eating junk food as a mistake. Because if you aren't, let's say, going to the gym as a goal, then the alcohol isn't going to take away your performance at the gym. If you are not working on a business, then again, the alcohol, the partying, the weed, it isn't going to affect your mental clarity for making more money inside of the business. Most people aren't working towards meaningful goals, so all of the distractions that they're engaging in aren't distractions to them. So the third trap is to do everything in your power to not get a job. And